Can lab-grown steak be the future of meat?
Textilindustrie in Schleudern geraten. Kleidung.
Let's see. Last video we're gonna watch today, and yeah, let me check queue time first. 20k players. Yeah, fuck it. We're just gonna watch the video, end the stream, and play tomorrow.
This machine is 3D printing steak.
What?
The goal is to create a piece of meat without killing a cow.
3D
and this Israeli
printing.
startup is one of the dozens of companies racing to perfect the process.
It turns out that cows aren't necessarily the most efficient way of making beef.
It's no secret that beef is one of the most...
Okay, well they are though. If you don't use a cow, then it's not beef anymore. Like, it may be very similar to beef, or it may imitate beef, but it's not beef.
...most damaging foods for the planet. The search for a solution has become a big business. But can lab-grown steak or plant-based alternatives really fix the broken beef industry?
This looks disgusting.
The global beef industry produced nearly 75 million tons of meat in 2020. That's about 19 pounds for each person on the planet. Each step of the supply chain is doing damage. Let's start on the farm. Raising cattle requires lots of land. On average, tropical rainforests the size of El Salvador are cleared every year to make room for cattle. These cows release tons of methane, one of the most potent greenhouse gases. Then there are the emissions from slaughtering, processing, packaging, and transporting beef. Globally, beef was responsible for 3 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions in 2010.
Okay, look, that's a lot, I know. But if you don't think about it and just enjoy steak, then, you know, steak good.
Twice as much as all vehicles in the US at the time. But plant-based alternatives to meat have grown into a...
Okay, but that's the thing. Look at the sausage. Look at the sausage. That's exactly my problem with plant-based alternatives. Like, some of them are good. Like, on God, the Burger King fake chicken, it tastes so fucking good. Like, it's so close to real chicken. It's insane. But look at this. This just looks like... This looks like you buy it and it's like squeaking.
But plant-based alternatives to meat have grown into a $5.6 billion industry. Beyond Meat has made its way into an estimated 135,000 grocery stores and restaurants.
I don't care if that was real meat, then it still looked shit, you know. But
signature burger is made by using heating, cooling, and pressure to give plant-based protein.
You see what I mean? That doesn't look appetizing. That looks weird. I'm not saying, like, I don't know how it tastes. I never tried Beyond Meat, but it doesn't look good.
A meat-like texture. A study funded by the company found that, pound for pound, its product generates about 90% less greenhouse gas emissions than traditional beef.
This looks... Never mind. I wanted to say this looks fine, but then I saw this weird fucking color. I don't know, that looks like the skin in like between ass cheeks, you know.
Still, for many scientists, the holy grail is to not just imitate meat, but actually make it. Back in 2013, professor and scientist Mark Post unveiled the first lab-grown burger at a live tasting in London.
That still looks weird as shit.
This one patty cost over $325.
If this is lab-grown meat, like actual meat, then why does it not look like meat? This looks like... It looks weird. It looks fake.
$5,000 to make.
It looks like burnt breading.
It's close to meat. It's not that juicy, but the consistency is perfect.
I think that was kind of one of those like pivotal moments where you're like, oh, this could be a thing.
But it wasn't until 2020 that funding for lab-grown food really started to pour in. With some startups drawing high-profile investments from the likes of Bill Gates and even...
Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, you know, but I don't trust that shit. Like, chemicals over chemical. And I'm saying that while drinking fucking energy drinks. I know, like, this fucking... It's like two sides of a coin, whatever, but, you know... Same with veggies that, like, get change their DNA to grow fat. Like, that's...
in traditional meat companies.
It's like everyone wants to hop on that bandwagon.
Now, researchers in Israel are taking on one of the biggest challenges: growing steaks in a lab.
When it comes to steak, you're bringing together the full range, essentially, of tissue engineering technologies and cell growth technologies.
Simon Fried and his team are using stem cells to create a steak they say is more ethical, although it's not vegetarian. Here's how it works.
Huh?
Look at this perfectly
Did they
marked
take like actual DNA or what?
steak. The white stuff is fat, that
Yeah,
gives
I know.
it flavor. The pink stuff is muscle, that's
Mm-hmm.
for protein. Scientists had to figure out how to recreate
By the way, that was a
both.
beautiful steak. That was a beautiful cut of steak.
First, they take stem cells from a cow and then grow them in a lab.
That means that we're replacing the body of the animal with what's called a bioreactor.
Getting the cells to grow under these conditions is no easy task.
Usually cells are attached to something. They grow in a petri dish or flasks, and they want to attach to something.
She's feeling so uncomfortable. You can see by like looking at the camera, looking away, looking at the camera, looking like she's moving her eyes constantly.
Here, the cells grow suspended in a liquid where they divide roughly once a day. Then scientists move the mass of cells to the tissue engineering lab where they make something called bioinks.
Because this is the beginning of the bioprinting stage, the inks that we're using actually contain the cells that we've been growing in the labs previously.
There's one for muscle and one for fat. They're fed through these nozzles, and technicians can customize how much
It's interesting shit, but I really dislike the sound of a 3D
of
printer.
each goes into the steak.
You can print
Like it literally makes my hair stand up. I'm not even kidding. I don't know if you can see.
any structure that you're able to design. So you upload a file to the printer and you can present a steak.
If you have the possibility to fucking craft your own steak, then why don't you make it look better?
Of pretty much any size and also any proportion.
One key challenge in this process is keeping the printing room sterile.
These are living cells and they're being jetted through the printer. So everything that can be done to keep the air clean of any impurities is necessary.
Otherwise, there's a chance the cells could die.
Damn, okay.
The steaks aren't quite finished when they leave the printing room. The cells still need time to develop
Yeah, they
into
look
muscle
very
and
thin.
fat tissue.
From a few days up to a few weeks, we can start seeing the muscle fibers starting to contract spontaneously in the dish.
Which looks like this. The
So weird.
process takes about a month,
And after that, you can treat it as you would a regular piece of meat.
but meat tech is still a long way away from selling its steak to consumers for a few reasons. Remember how the cells were growing in that liquid?
Yeah.
Well, it contains something called fetal bovine serum, or FBS.
In layman's terms, it's baby cow blood.
It's one of the most controversial parts of growing meat in a lab because it comes from fetuses of pregnant cows that were slaughtered. But it's necessary for the cells to grow.
Well, how many fetuses they need? That's so weird, dude.
Simon told us they are using FBS as
Joe, they turn cow fetuses into steaks.
part of the research
Do they look
process.
like tiny cows?
What?
Do they look like tiny cows?
No,
Oh.
they look like jello pieces of steaks.
But they plan to eventually replace it with something else.
Our plans are that it shouldn't be part of any at-scale commercial activity.
But an alternative that's just as effective has yet to be found. Simon wouldn't give us an estimate on when
Baby
the steak
cow
will be ready for the
fetuses.
public to try, or how much it costs to make the prototypes. In the meantime, he says the company is focused on a more attainable goal, like this hybrid product made of soy and beef fat grown in Meatech's lab.
The texture of our culture
Looks like
kebab is nearly the same like a real kebab.
Meatech is building
how is he just touching it?
a new facility in
How is he touching boiling meat?
Belgium to start making foods like these on a larger scale. But it's unclear how sustainable a scaled-up lab-grown beef industry would really be.
We don't know what the carbon
I want to try it. But I feel like it's gonna be disgusting as fuck.
footprint looks like. To actually scale these up in the amount of space and energy it will take.
And this is all a gamble on something most consumers haven't even tried
That
yet.
looks good. That looks really
So
good.
far, meat made in a lab can only
I mean, it looks like a normal chicken nugget.
be sold in Singapore, where one company debuted its chicken nuggets back in 2020. Despite the uncertainty,
Okay, but even from the inside, they look good. Like, it just looks like chicken.
companies working on lab-grown meat have raised nearly $2 billion. They're betting that the rest of the world will follow Singapore's lead and start granting lab-grown foods approval
That actually looks like fish. I know what Singapore is doing different, but that actually looks
for
good.
sale. But even if lab-grown meat manages to win over regulators and the public, could it actually replace beef?
I'm honestly
fine
not
too.
fully convinced that this is the right way to mass produce meat for the public to be
Yeah, no.
eating based off of how long this has been developing and how little we've seen.
So while we wait on lab-grown beef, consumers looking to reduce their carbon footprint can still turn to plant-based options.
I don't know, man. The thing is, even if I would go like, you know what, I'm gonna get the plant-based versions, then I still pay like 4 times the amount that I would pay for meat, and I'm not fucking rich, okay? I cannot pay like $20 for a singular burger patty. Like, that's insane. That's madness. That's pure madness. Yeah, I don't even know what to say.